everybody. My name is Blake Robison, and with me today I have the Texas Sportscaster of the Year, Roger Wallace. Welcome, Roger.
Hey, Blake, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you're ready, you want to jump into some questions?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So first off, just kind of walk me through your path, how you got started in sports broadcasting, and all your stops along the way.
Well, it was probably the similar story to a lot of sportscasters when they knew that their playing career wasn't going beyond whatever level they made it to, and had a passion for sports. They probably started thinking, how can I keep sports in my life and not be on the playing side? And that's how I was in high school, and decided that maybe sportscasting would be a good option. Took a speech class in high school, realized that I could talk a little bit and not get nervous and have a conversation with people, ad lib and things like that. So I kind of set out when I went to college to be a sportscaster, and that helped me get through college because I knew what I wanted to do, and that was kind of the driving force through my 4 years.
Yeah. So through your journey, was there a moment where you're ever like, I think I got this, or I'll be all right?
Well, you're never too confident because things can change on a dime. But after a couple of moves, I started out in the Central Coast of California, in San Luis Obispo, really young. Definitely didn't think I was fine there. And then I moved to East Texas and became a sports anchor Monday through Friday. And I was there for 3 years. And then I moved to Wichita, Kansas, and became a sports director there for 5. That also included some TV play-by-play duties. And by that, I'm almost 10 years into my career. I figured, I can do this. But problem with this business, Blake, as you've probably been told, is it's pretty finicky. So, one set of management likes what you do, and then somebody else comes in and they decide maybe we want to go a different direction. But obviously, it's worked out nicely. I've been here nearly 30 years in Austin.
Awesome. So with your job, you get to cover a lot of local events and local sports. Is there something more special about that than maybe covering the national scene? Because I've kind of come to realize that there is something about it.
Well, it's something you can do daily. So you get to know teams, coaches, athletes, and you're around them a lot. So you know their stories a lot better. And then if you're there for a number of years, you get a feel for the kind of the fabric of that program. Here, obviously, it's the University of Texas with all the history it's had, and all the history that it's been through since I got here. I got here when they were in the Southwest Conference. The Big 12 hadn't even been born yet. It was ready to happen the next year, but it didn't start until 1996. And then, of course, the bombshell in the summer of 21 when Texas and Oklahoma went to the SEC. So, but certainly as a local sportscaster, that's what it's all about. You cover things on a larger scale at times, but primarily, it's what's going on in your community, your area, your region, and then your state, and then national stories. There has to be obviously a really good reason to include that, because what you're there for is to tell local stories and give local news.
So in your career, have you got some experience with the technical aspect, maybe the more engineering part or behind the scenes? Because a lot of people I've talked to, they've kind of gotten their hands dirty with that aspect, and it gives them a different appreciation and light on the job.
I'm chasing the technical aspect, Blake. I'm trying to keep up. But yes, early on in my career, I did everything, with the camera and editing. Obviously, I still do every day, and writing, not as much with the camera. But yeah, sure. And for me, for someone that's been in this business so long, you think about, when I started, it was 3/4 inch tape, and then it was beta tape, and then it was, DVC Pro is what the next iteration of our tape, and then we went digital, and now we're shooting obviously on SD cards. So just that keeping up with the technology and different editing systems, and going from editing tape to tape where you can't mess up. Or you have to start all over again, to now where it's so much easier. And a lot of the younger people, they're better at it than me, but they probably don't have the appreciation I do because of what I went through early on with how a little more cumbersome editing was. And now it is just, you can do it at a lightning rate.
Yeah, I mean, I was not alive to see the progression from older to now, but I can only imagine getting to live through that. I mean, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And what you're doing is what you know. So you're not thinking about what's going to happen in 20 years and what it's going to look like. But when you progress to that next step of technology, that's when you look back and say, wow, I did it that way. This is so much more efficient. And then it's happened a few more times along the way, just like news gathering and kind of how the news day goes as far as information, because obviously of the internet and social media and, minute by minute sports, as opposed to, something happens at 10 a.m. And you get on the 6 o'clock news and it's new to so many people now by 6 o'clock, unless it's just a hardcore news viewer that stays away from the other stuff. They already know that information. So then you have to kind of work to craft that information as something that's still interesting and fresh.
The ever evolving, the ever evolving game of news, that is.
Yeah, no doubt.
So with your journey, was there ever a moment that was really unexpected? Something happened, maybe shocking, or maybe just something that you look back on and like, wow, that really did happen.
Well, right off the bat, Blake, my first job was actually at a startup station in East Texas. I mentioned that I went to East Texas. I returned to East Texas, but it was a startup station that never started. So imagine a small newsroom of young reporters and anchors. For me, I'd never been on TV yet. I'd never been in a newsroom. So clearly that was the one I didn't expect, because the whole thing was the rug was pulled out from under me. Lost our jobs within about 4 months. Didn't have a resume tape other than the one I had prepared at my internship. But fortunately, I got that job in Central California through a connection at the job that didn't work out in Texas. And every job I've gotten, Blake, I've either known somebody there or had a connection to somebody there that's kind of helped pave the way. And that's so important in this business, is to, know people, use your resources, and take advantage of all the things that you've done in your previous part of your career to advance it if you can.
So that is a good start to the last question I'm going to ask you about advice, but I think that's very important. So maybe you're in a couple questions build on that, but absolutely, I mean, the connections, I think basically are paramount. A lot of people I've talked to say they're the most important thing you can do.
Well, and here's one reason why, Blake, because I've been in a position now for a long time to be in the hiring process, and you get a resume, used to be on a tape, now obviously a file. So you watch the resume, you like them, they're talented, you assume they're going to be talented. That's kind of a prerequisite on camera storytelling. But what you don't know is the rest of their story. And so even an interview back in the day in person, now primarily on Zoom, unless they're close by or it's a really prominent position, they bring you in. So then you need to find out what they're like other than that tape. And that's what, it's not just, I know somebody at this and we have a relationship. It's that they can speak to that other aspect of what I'm about. I look for the same when we're hiring people. I want to know what they're about. What are they like in the field? Do they complain? Are they hard worker? Do they, are they grinders? And little things like that. So that's why it's so important to learn about. And, everybody puts references, and I'm going to assume if you put a reference on your resume, they're going to say good things about you. So I have to go find other people that know you in a different capacity than one of your references, and say, okay, what's Blake like in the field when he's interacting at press conferences, when he's gathering with other reporters and things like that? How does he carry himself? And that's a little bit of kind of an X factor when you're looking to hire somebody, because you just don't know.
Yeah, there's a holistic aspect of it that you kind of got to be a complete package in a way. But I want to throw a fun question at you if you're ready.
Yep.
This is my favorite. I always love it because I don't know what answer I'm going to get. But if you could cover any sporting event in the world at any venue in the world, past or present, do you have like a dream combination in mind?
Well, I've been pretty fortunate to get some big ones under my belt. Beijing Olympics in 2008 being certainly one of the highlights. I would probably say the Masters at Augusta. And We've had a lot of success with golfers from Austin and from the University of Texas at the Masters. The year I got here is the year Ben Crenshaw won his second green jacket. He's born and raised in Austin. Of course, Jordan Spieth went to school here. Scotty Scheffler went to school here. But I've never been to Augusta, and I've never covered a Masters. So I would probably put that at number one and maybe Wimbledon at number two.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten the Masters answer before. I mean, it's just something about it. It kind of has this vibe of just cool and historic.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those places that anybody that's been there says you have to see it to believe it. TV doesn't do it justice. So, that's another reason. As I said, I've done Olympics, I've done Super Bowls, I've done national championship games. I was on the sideline when Vince Young on fourth down won the national championship. I was part of the broadcast team there. So I've done a lot of really cool things, but have not been to the Masters.
Well, I hope you get there. I mean, you got the resume of everything else, which is awesome.
Might be as a fan, but at some point I would like to put my feet down on that turf.
Oh yeah. So with yourself, like reviewing your own footage and kind of being your own critic, do you have trouble balancing helping yourself get better and also beating yourself down? Because it's kind of hard to find that balance of being fair to yourself.
Yeah, especially early on. But you have to be true to who you are, and the last thing you want to do is start emulating other people. You can take bits and pieces, but you have to kind of be who you are. And I know people have big personalities on TV, and that's fine, but you don't want to seem like you're putting on a show. So that's kind of my the way I critique myself. Do I sound genuine to me? But also, do I have the energy? Am I trying to keep things at a very conversational level? I do a lot of ad-libbing on air, and so to me, that's kind of one of the things that I think helps in that tone where people are comfortable, because it feels like you're kind of talking with them, not at them. And so, but always in my career, you look at previous sportscasts, or you're editing something that you're on, and that's always a good reminder when you look at it on tape a second time, and you realize, okay, what did I think of that? Do I need to maybe tweak some things? Hard part with local TV, Blake, is your time is so short that a lot of times, you're kind of trying to get through. You have several different types of sportscasters. I like to think I'm in the information business, so I like to get a lot of information out, and also mix in some personality, some humor, some sarcasm, but not at the expense of making it about me, making it about the content. So sure, you always kind of critique, especially if it's been a while since you've watched one of your shows, and you want to kind of go back and go, okay, how am I doing? Am I progressing? Do I sound like I'm tired? Do I sound like maybe I don't have that same passion as I did a while ago? And that's a big indicator. If you don't, you got to fix that.
You talked about not wanting to emulate people, which is great advice, bits and pieces. But did you have, or maybe now, have like a role model or somebody that served as an inspiration to you throughout your career?
Yeah, sure. Especially coming in, I interned at the NBC affiliate in Tampa, Florida, and the primary reporter anchor I worked with is a woman named Gail Sirens, and at the time, she was one of the few female local sportscasters, and so she was extremely hardworking, very aware of everything, and she was a great person to learn from, because for her, she always felt like maybe I have to work a little bit harder, because of the obvious reasons. And she became the first network play-by-play female for NBC. She did it in the fall of 1986. She did an NFL game on NBC. She transitioned into news, but she taught me a lot, just because first, it was my first real experience at a television station in a sports department, and second, just because of her work ethic and the way she went about her job. And then I had other people along the way. They taught me the value of local relationships, and just we literally at another job would make beat calls to high schools just to see what was going on. We didn't have Twitter, and every high school could tweet out all the things going on. So we would call coaches once or twice a week and just check in and see what was going on. So I learned that value of the way to find stories. back when they didn't just fall in your lap. And then just along the way, different people with different things giving me chances. But sure, early on, there were a handful of people that were huge in my career.
I always love to hear there's always somebody that everybody immediately goes to. They're like, this.
Yeah. And that's probably pretty common, Blake, because you know that person right off the top of your head, and it's someone you'll never forget.
Yeah, that is probably my second favorite question, because you get to see them be like, yes, I got it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I want to circle back. You kind of touched on it a little bit with the connection building. So if you had to give some advice to a young professional, maybe like myself, who is interested in the sports media world, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them, and I would ask them. You're a freshman, right? So you got a ways to go to figure it out. I would first of all tell them, do as much as you can. You're at Wake, whatever you can do there, either part of classes or away from classes, whatever other opportunities you have to do it. I would ask you, why do you want to do it? Why do you want to get into sports journalism or broadcasting? And then from that answer, it might lead me to believe, okay, I think this is a person that really wants to do it. Another answer might go, well, you might want to rethink things. One thing I tell people, Blake, is I'm on TV about 9 minutes a day. Well, I'm at the station about 9 hours a day. So, you do the math. There's a lot more that goes into it than just your time doing the newscast. So you've got to like that part. You've got to like the planning part. You've got to like the part that to me is the hardest. It's not what goes into a sportscast, but what doesn't go in. I get 2 minutes at 6, 3 minutes at 10. Clearly, I can't tell every story. I have to deal with the feedback of, why didn't you cover this? Why didn't you do that? And you kind of have to stick to your guns and say, this is what I believe is important. If somebody else does something different, respect them for that. But you can't just keep second guessing yourself. And then after that, be open. Digital obviously is huge right now. So it wasn't when I started out, but being a digital journalist and being able to write web stories, incorporate video into those web stories and all the other stuff, as well as being a sportscaster. So I would say, don't close your mind. I just want to do this. I just want to be a play-by-play guy on NBC, or a sideline reporter, or whatever. You got to keep your options open. I fully intended to be a play-by-play guy in college until the end of my senior year, and I realized, well, maybe local TV, it's a little more steady, as far as a lot of play-by-play people are freelance, unless you land something that's full-time. But even college play-by-play announcers usually have another job. So I was able to do a lot of play-by-play within the framework of a TV job. But to your original question, just do everything you can, expose yourself to everything you can, and don't let your love of sports kind of get jaded by it becoming your career. And I've seen it, Blake. I've seen people that they've gotten out of the business because they've told me, I don't love sports like I used to, because now it's my job. And so I can't really be a fan, and I want to be a fan again. So I'll go find something else to do. And I've been fortunate enough to kind of be able to balance the two. I'm a huge sports fan, but I love doing sports more than anything I can imagine.
I was just about to say, and you just mentioned it, I think half the battle of your job is balance. I mean, everything requires balance. You can't go too far one way or the other, or things are going to crumble.
Yeah, and you have to, everybody's got their favorites, right? I mean, that's just natural. That's kind of the way it is. But you have to realize your favorite might not be their favorite, or it might not be what's being talked about the most. So you kind of have to put your personal preference aside to realize, okay, this is what I think needs to be covered, because I think there's the widest audience for that. And the other thing is, you got to put your preferences of who you like and who you don't like. I didn't grow up a fan of any Texas teams. I grew up in Ohio. But, if you have strong feelings one way or another, you kind of have to put those aside to come and cover the team. Doesn't mean you have to be a cheerleader, but, you want to cover it fairly, and you have some healthy enthusiasm when the teams that you're covering do well, and you don't sugarcoat it when they're not doing well.
All right, Roger, I have one last thing for you. I'm going to hand you the microphone. The floor is yours. Whatever you want to say, any thoughts on your mind, go for it.
Well, I just appreciate the chance to talk with you, Blake, and share my story, because I talk in bits and pieces to people about my career, but this has been fun, and just keep the passion. If you're thinking about doing this, if you lose the passion, then it becomes a job, and so that's okay too. But it's a lot more fun when it's your passion and your job. And I've been lucky enough where I was that kid in college that couldn't wait to get out of college and start working, and I've been the same way ever since.
Awesome. Well, once again, congratulations, Roger Wallace, the Texas Sportscaster of the Year. It's been a
Hey,
pleasure.
thanks, Blake.